Now welcome to another Mandalorian discussion video, where this time the topic is going to be...
The Darksaber? What does it mean that it's now destroyed? What kind of place did it hold within the season? For some reason, I was giving this a lot of awkward thought.
Awkward thought.
Well, okay, the Darksaber has an illustrious history. We've done a video on its history, stretching all the way back to the original owner, Tar Vizsla.
Yep. Who is a Jedi and a Mandalorian.
Yes, he was. And then, of course, after he passed away, the Jedi kept his saber. Then the Vizsla clan went back and stole it, and it became the symbol of the ruling house of Mandalore for thousands of years.
But you brought up an interesting point that Pre-Vizsla had it and wasn't the ruler of Mandalore.
Yes, the leader of Death Watch wasn't the leader of Mandalore. He wielded the Darksaber, he had the Darksaber and all that good stuff that looks cool and stuff. He even had a cape, whatever, that's neither here nor there, but...
We were having one of our off-microphone discussions about Star Wars, which happen spontaneously all the time, and you're like, well, why isn't... What was up with the Darksaber while Pre-Vizsla had it?
Mm-hmm. Because he wasn't the ruler of Mandalore.
Yeah, he was on Concordia, hiding as a ruler of Death Watch, and... Yeah, I'm assuming that when Satine became ruler, everybody just stopped following the Darksaber?
It's just really weird because that was the majority, and they couldn't care less about the Darksaber. They couldn't care less about Clan Vizsla's apparent right to rule, in a way.
Yeah, and how long was the Kryze family the ruling family? Because we know bo-katan talks about her father being...
Well, it's weird, though, too, because even when Maul had the saber, he was kind of a shadow leader of Mandalore. Prime Minister Almec was more of the face. He was more in the... He was using Mandalore without really being the full-on figurehead leader.
Interesting point, yeah.
It wasn't until the Rebels show came out that the story of the Darksaber evolved.
Yeah, it became somehow this symbol of rulership of all of Mandalore.
Yes, having it gives you the right to lead, but it didn't give Pre-Vizsla the right to lead. So we know Pre-Vizsla didn't rule Mandalore. Duchess Satine ruled. Then in Rebels, all of a sudden this story came about that if you had the saber, you have the right to rule. But she didn't... The saber killed her sister.
Yes. Yeah,
I don't really know what kind of history they think the saber has. Why does it all of a sudden evolve into, well, you have the right to rule? Maul had it in hiding for years.
That is a weird thing I never considered until right now. The fact that bo-katan kind of covets the weapon that killed her sister.
I mean, it's a weird thing that she wants the blade.
You would think she would think it was cursed or just would want to destroy it. I mean, it does end up destroyed, but she has so much faith in the thing. It's kind of strange in a way.
After it kills Satine, I mean, it pretty much disappears with Maul for years.
Yeah.
Comes back in Rebels, Sabine finds it, and now all of a sudden, this story comes up that, well, you have the right to rule and unite the clans if you have the sword. Pre-Vizsla did the opposite of uniting anything.
Yeah.
He was a separating factor.
We have to assume that in the interim there between its creation and here at the end when it wasn't, that it was probably for a long stretch of time that Tar Vizsla kind of... Well, no, because the Jedi took it and then they stole it back. So did the Vizslas then...
It's like the tradition existed and then it faded away into obscurity because they probably lost the saber because Pre was running around with it.
Yeah.
And then
kind of in hiding, yeah.
Yeah, and then it all comes back to the forefront when Sabine finds it later and gives it to bo-katan.
Yes. Even though there's this whole tradition about having to win it in combat, even though it seems as if it stayed in the Vizsla family or clan. Did they have to fight for it?
I don't even know. It got really mumbled and jumbled and messed up.
When was this ever won in combat? If it's been a Vizsla kind of
maybe the Vizslas only fought each other for it.
I guess that's possible, but it seems a little...
Father had to fight son and so on.
That's hardcore.
I don't know. Maybe as long as it stayed within the own clan, it was fine. I don't know.
I like that we've totally gone off topic from what we were originally probably going to discuss here.
Well, I'm moving back towards what we were talking about. So we saw Gideon destroy it. He somehow...
Should have broke his hand.
Somehow he broke it. I don't know how.
He's wearing a rubberized glove looking thing. So even if the suit gives him strength, that's still bone trying to crush Beskar. Beskar beats bone.
Beskar should beat bone.
Yes. Doesn't matter if it gave him enough strength, it's still bone.
Yeah, so somehow he destroyed it.
Yes. Sorry, I just had to get that one off my chest.
I know you did. But what did he think would happen by destroying? He seemed like intent on destroying that blade. If it couldn't be his, he was destroying it. Did he assume if he had control of it, he was the leader of Mandalore? The leader of a glassed planet?
He used to like it, right? He used to kind of covet the thing, too.
Well, yeah, he traded for it with bo-katan and the false promise, yeah. And then he wanted it again.
He did, and yet he destroys it, and he's all like, haha, I destroyed it.
Part of me thinks that he thinks destroying the blade, like maybe he believes in the symbolism of it more than some of the rest of them. Bo-Katan, oh, you wave that thing around, they'll follow you anywhere. And he is out to destroy the Mandalorians. Does he think destroying that blade destroys them ever uniting again? Does he not, maybe because he doesn't really know the other clan.
The other clan doesn't care. I mean, Din Djarin literally says, it means nothing to me and my people.
Well, think
like,
of
we didn't even know about it. They didn't even know about it until... No.
Even think of it this way. The Children of the Watch, they'd probably be happy it was destroyed. The Armorer made a big deal about the Beskar spear, saying we don't make weapons out of Beskar. That was a lightsaber made of Beskar.
Yeah.
That's a weapon, which would be something that they would not want.
You would think so.
But I'm curious if Moff Gideon really believed that getting rid of the Darksaber would permanently destroy the Mandalorians ever being able to reunite under a leader again.
Even though, like, 20 years ago, they had united under Satine? Or, not all of them, but some of them.
We should forget about that. That really isn't important, apparently.
No.
20 years ago was way too long. That's just Filoni contradicting himself.
Yeah, it is.
Well, he and Lucas made the whole Clone Wars story with it. Well, they made up this cool weapon. Then Rebels comes along, and Filoni's like, we need a story now for my weapon.
Well, part of the problem is the pacifist Mandalorians. Like, I don't understand why they did that.
They're called the Blandalorians?
They are the Mandalorian. It was so strange watching Clone Wars, and especially because we had dealt with the history of the Mandalorians. We had dealt with how the clones and the Mandalorians were connected. The Karen Traviss novels. We'd seen all these things, and all of a sudden, like, no, they're a bunch of pacifists. Like, what?
Yeah, they brought them from Legends just to turn them into a bunch of wussies.
It was, well, I mean, yeah, they'd existed in canon, obviously, but never had been explored until Clone Wars, like, at all. Other than Boba Fett showing up, who is not technically a Mandalorian anyway.
He's a clone of a Mandalorian. That's the same thing.
Who would have ever guessed that, though? Back in the OT days. Like, yeah, he's just a clone of a real Mandalorian.
So that makes the entire clone army Mandalorian in my book.
It's confusing.
Genetically, they're Mandalorian.
I guess. They all got their chain code to prove it.
But what's cool, though, is with the destruction of the Darksaber, I really believe that means that Mandalore can now be ruled with honor. Rather than a symbol of power, they're ruling with respect. Plus, we've got the Mythosaur. That's still something. But how will they go about choosing new rulers without this magical sword? The way they did it
before without it, apparently.
It's so confusing, though.
Well, I'll say this. Like, I don't like the idea of destroying the Darksaber. I wish it would have been, like, lost in the battle or something and fallen off a cliff and just been lost and not destroyed. But I do like the idea that Bo-Katan doesn't need it.
It falls down, and you see it sinking below, and you see it sink past the Mythosaur, who wakes up.
Who grabs it. It's like, I'll hold on to this for whenever somebody rides me.
Well, when I choose a leader, I shall bestow them with this.
I'm going to give it to Grogu when he comes down here someday. No. It's going to be real cool. But no, I like the idea that she loses the Darksaber, because it was actually one of the most coherent and consistent parts of the season was the fact that Bo-Katan starts out like, I need that Darksaber back because that's what proves I'm the leader, and she kind of takes the journey to realizing, no, like, what makes me a leader is when people believe in me. Doesn't matter that I have this thing. So I actually think losing the Darksaber, not destroying it, was one of the better things the season did in an odd sort of way.
No, instead they still have the pieces, and they have an armor, so they could probably just reforge it. Not to mention Huyang.
You think Huyang's going to put the thing back together?
Maybe that's how Bo-Katan could show up in the
I don't think she's going to want to put... I think she
just wanders over there and goes, could you fix this? Well, it's still a weapon.
It's still Beskar, though.
It still has...
She needs an armor.
But it still has tradition with her people, whether it's used as the symbol of ruling or it's just used as a weapon that has great historical value to them.
I mean, like I said, I wish it wouldn't have been destroyed. I think that was a mistake. Again, I get the symbolism. I get why they did it. But I also feel like it was still underused throughout the season. Or since we see Din get it in season 2, end of season 2.
Well, it was underused because Din couldn't use it very well.
Yeah. They didn't really do much with that either. He was just like, I'm going to try using it, and then I couldn't, and I'm going to pretend like I never cared about it.
And he just could never really get it to work with him.
Yeah.
The one time we saw it in action, it was Bo-Katan using it.
Yeah, she used it a couple times.
When she saved him.
The initial, when she saved it from the cyborgy spider thing, yeah.
Yeah. She was a proper mesh with it. She was more attuned to the blade.
Oh, yeah, she had no problem. It wasn't heavy for her.
Right. That doesn't mean to say that that's the only one it would work with. It could work with anyone who's similar in nature to her.
Well, we even saw Sabine in Rebels learn how to use it, so... Mm-hmm. I mean, she did comment about the weight, that she thought it was heavier than she thought it would be, but...
Until she stopped fighting it, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of attuned in her own way with
Wasn't as heavy as, like, Din or when Paz tried to hold it that one time. I think it looked like it weighed a couple 100 pounds when he was trying to swing it.
Because they had their helmets on.
Maybe.
Helmet on. Doesn't work.
But no, I'm sad and disappointed to see the Darksaber gone. I do get it. I wish we would have a more fleshed out history.
They literally brought it in just so they could destroy it.
Well, yeah, it was meant to symbolize that she no longer needed it.
It could have just remained lost. They never had to bring it back in.
Well, I'm fine with them bringing it back in. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with it.
Well, I don't know why it couldn't have just been honored for its history and find a new way to rule with it still existing.
I mean, it would have been more impactful, I think, if she would have made the choice to just discard it afterwards. Like, I don't need this anymore.
See her throw it into the living waters or
something, yeah.
Have it melted down in the forge to make something new.
We don't make weapons anymore. Yeah, it would be interesting to kind of carry that little bit of a thread from before where the armor does talk about we don't make weapons with this. And she's going to be like, I'm going to destroy this weapon. We don't follow weapons. We follow honor and loyalty.
Make it a new piece of armor.
Yeah, that would
be cool. With the mythosaur on it. A new pauldron with the mythosaur on the other side or something.
She could have lost another pauldron during the Moff Gideon fight or something, and we could have made a whole new one.
Right. I think it would have been better to see that change and evolve rather than be crushed by the enemy.
Make it a decision rather than this goofy kind of, I'm going to crush it because, haha.
Haha.
And I'm going to use my gloved, basically bare hand to do it.
He is strong. That's what I'm saying.
He's real strong. We don't need armors. We just need Moff Gideon's hand.
Oh,
and we can work Beskar.
No.
But yeah, that's my take on the Darksaber, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely had some errors in using it this season. And I agree. It definitely should have been a conscious decision to evolve and change their culture into something new by just getting rid of it on purpose.
Yeah, I think that's far more powerful, far more impactful.
What worries me is what would happen with the other group of Mandalorians.
The Axe-Wolves?
Yeah, they are the ones who were following the saber, not following the way. And now the saber's been destroyed, so they didn't ever show us what are the other. What is that group going to do? Are they?
They were at the ceremony for the lighting of the forge, and they seemed. I mean, it was even Axe-Wolves who was like, "For Mandalore," so he seems like he's on board.
I feel like there are some definite cuts that I missed that would give me the information.
Well, yeah, I do. I agree with you. I think that these things should have been explored.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been more interesting if it wasn't like immediately like we're just going to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
If there would have been like Axe is like, so where's the Darksaber?
It's gone.
It got crushed.
It's gone now.
What? Yeah.
It's okay. Don't think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was, again, talking about things, missed opportunities in the season, I think it was far more interesting to try to explore. I mean, we have the one fight between Paz and Axe, but far more interesting to kind of explore what it means to try to join these two together instead of just like, yeah, they're gonna be fine.
Well, we know we're missing the William Wallace-esque speech from bo-katan when she was leading them all to go and do this fight in the first place. So, yeah.
Yeah, as I was saying in the previous couple of videos, I think they rush through everything instead of just slowing it down and letting us kind of understand these things and these characters and the motivations and all that stuff that actually makes a story good.
It's going to be the Schneider cut for me. I want to see the full, unedited, full cut of the Mandalorian season.
I would love to.
Yes.
It'd be a way to fill the gap, too, until the next season, too.
Who knows when that'll happen.
I mean, I highly, highly doubt they'll ever do anything like that. But I still think it would be interesting to know, kind of what we're missing out on.
Mm.
Maybe it would have made the season better. Hey, maybe it would have made the season worse. Maybe there's a reason it was cut, right? But anyway, speaking of cutting things, I think that's where we're going to cut off this video.
Thank goodness. Ramble Master.
I know. I was getting into it with the Darksaber, speculating and trying to figure out how it works. I think that one could be an hour-long video in itself. But anyway, now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you think about the Darksaber being destroyed. How do you think it works? Whatever the case may be, you know what to do. Leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.